I had just finished arranging a bouquet of fresh sunflowers in the living room. Their bright yellow petals always made the space feel more like home. I took a deep breath, admiring the quiet of my sanctuary. It was a Sunday, the kind of slow, cozy day I lived for. Just me, my music, and the smell of lemon cleaner still lingering in the air. That's why I didn't hear the front door open at first. I froze when I heard a soft thud upstairs. Then another, like the sound of something being dragged. I walked toward the staircase, my heart quickening. I hadn't invited anyone over. My husband, Ryan, was supposed to be at the office, finishing up reports. No one else had a key. Ryan. I called out, voice hesitant. No response. Then suddenly footsteps. Heels. Calm, measured, familiar. I didn't need to see her face to know who it was. Mama Walker? I asked, rounding the corner, already knowing the answer. There she stood at the top of the staircase in a cream-colored pantsuit, holding a suitcase in one hand and my bathrobe in the other. "Oh, good," she said, as if I'd been expecting her. "You're home." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. My mother-in-law, Joyce Walker, was standing in my house, luggage at her side, acting like she had just returned from a weekend getaway. "Did Ryan say you could come by?" I asked cautiously, trying to stay polite even as confusion tangled with dread in my gut. She waved her hand dismissively, stepping down the stairs like she owned every inch of this place. "Oh, don't be silly. Ryan and I talked. He said it's fine if I stay a while. Didn't he mention it to you?" "No." "No, he did not." Joyce was a retired attorney, the kind of woman who wore pearls to breakfast and made every conversation feel like a courtroom cross-examination. From the moment Ryan and I got married 3 years ago, she had a way of inserting herself where she wasn't wanted. But this was next-level invasion. "I'll just take the guest room," she continued, brushing past me like I wasn't even there. "I'll only be here until things settle down." "Things? What things?" I stood there dumbfounded. My arms were crossed before I realized I'd folded them. My mouth opened, but no words came out. "Settle down from what exactly?" I asked, finally finding my voice. "Oh, honey, there's just been some tension at my condo association. You know how it is. Too many gossipy women with nothing better to do. I just need some peace and quiet for a bit." Her version of peace and quiet always came at someone else's cost.
Usually mine.
The next 2 hours felt like a surreal dream. Joyce unpacked, took a shower, ordered groceries on my account without asking, used my favorite lavender body wash, and even left a wet towel on the bedspread. I texted Ryan. "Me? Why is your mom here?" "Ryan, she said she talked to you?" "Me? And oh, she's moved in." No reply. That night, dinner was tense. I made pasta primavera, Joyce's least favorite. She poked at it like I'd served her spoiled meat. "You know, Emily," she said casually, "a touch of truffle oil would really bring out the flavor. I keep telling Ryan you're a good cook, but presentation matters too." I smiled through gritted teeth. "Thanks for the tip." She poured herself a glass of wine, my wine, and reclined in my favorite reading chair, flipping through one of my psychology books as if she were inspecting my brain through the pages. I went to bed that night with a pit in my stomach. Ryan still wasn't home. Joyce had made herself completely comfortable, and I knew this wasn't going to be temporary. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my alarm and the smell of bacon, which would have been sweet, except I'm vegetarian. Downstairs, Joyce was humming to herself, clattering around the kitchen, making breakfast for herself and packing Ryan's lunch like this was the 1950s. "You're up," she said brightly, flipping bacon with one hand, sipping coffee with the other. "I figured I'd help out. Give you a little break." I stared at the pan, then at her. "You've rearranged the spice rack." She smiled. It made more sense this way. This woman had been in my house for less than 24 hours, and already she was changing it like it belonged to her. I tried to talk to Ryan again that evening. He walked in late, exhausted. "Why didn't you tell me she was coming?" I demanded. "I thought she talked to you," he muttered, loosening his tie.
"No, Ryan."
She blindsided me. walked in with her suitcase, and took over like she owns this place. She's going through a rough patch, he said. Can't we just let her stay a few days? She's rearranging the kitchen. She's making decisions like I'm just a guest here.
He sighed.
I don't have the energy for this right now. I felt the tears sting behind my eyes, not because I was sad, but because I was angry. Angry that I was being treated like the unreasonable one. Angry that no one was taking this seriously. 2 days later, she installed a new shower caddy in the master bathroom. Then she started answering the door like it was her house. Then I found her going through my closet. I was just looking for something to borrow, she said, holding up my silk scarf. It's such a lovely color. Ryan always said blue looks so nice on me. Something in me cracked.
I started documenting.
Not because I thought anyone would believe me, but because I needed to feel in control again. Every misplaced item. Everything she touched without permission. Every strange comment. Like when she said, "You know, Ryan always liked his eggs sunny side up. I'm surprised you never learned that." Or when she accidentally threw away my journals because she thought they were old receipts. She wasn't just trying to stay. She was trying to replace me. One night, I overheard her talking to Ryan in the living room. "She's just overwhelmed," Joyce was saying in a syrupy tone. "You've always needed a woman with a bit more stability." I waited for Ryan to defend me.
He didn't.
That's when I realized I wasn't just losing space in my home. I was being erased from my own life. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy with unspoken words and unanswered questions. My home was no longer mine. It felt haunted, not by ghosts, but by the quiet invasion of someone who smiled while pulling the ground from beneath my feet. By morning, I had a plan. If Joyce wanted to pretend this was her house, I'd show her how wrong she was. But first, I needed to understand just how far she intended to go. I started leaving tiny tests. Moving things slightly out of place to see how she'd react. I left the butter in the fridge instead of the counter. I changed the laundry detergent back to my usual lavender brand. I even started making meals she claimed to hate. She noticed everything. "Emily," she said one afternoon, holding up the butter like it was a dead rat, "this belongs here. If you want the kitchen to stay clean, follow the system." The system? What system? I never agreed to a system. Also, she added, sniffing the laundry basket, "whatever soap you're using makes the towels smell amateurish." It felt like psychological warfare in small doses. Every insult was coated in sugar. Every intrusion came with a smile. But I wasn't imagining it anymore. Joyce wasn't just being passive-aggressive. She was actively trying to dominate the space. My space. I decided to talk to my best friend, Kelsey, who lived in San Diego. Wait, she just moved in? Kelsey nearly choked on her drink during our video call. Like, without a single warning?
Yes.
And Ryan's just letting it happen. Kelsey rolled her eyes.
Girl.
This isn't about her staying. This is about control.
Exactly.
But you know what they say, she continued. Don't play defense in your own home. You want her out? Start playing offense. Offense. I liked that. That night, I started taking back little pieces of control. I took down the floral tablecloth she bought without asking and replaced it with my old, modern one. I moved her shoes from the front hall to the garage. I reset the thermostat to my preferred 72 degrees. And I deleted her grocery order from my account. She noticed. She always did. You know, she said with a practiced sigh, I'm starting to feel like I'm not welcome here. I met her eyes.
Calm. Steady. Funny, I said.
I've felt that way for the past week. Her lips twitched. For a second, the smile slipped. The next day, I got home from work and found that she had hung family photos, her family, not mine, on the walls. There was a framed portrait of Ryan as a teenager. Another of her, standing on the beach somewhere in Florida. Her entire lineage was now staring down at me every time I passed the living room. I took them all down, put them neatly in a box. She found them that evening. I just thought it would be nice to remind Ryan of his roots, she said. He lives with me, I answered. His roots are here now. Well, she snapped, some roots run deeper than others. That was the first time she dropped the sweet act completely. That night, Ryan and I fought. Loudly. Why are you acting like she's harmless? I demanded. She's undermining me in every way. She's just trying to help, he yelled. She's my mother, Emily. And I'm your wife. Or does that not matter anymore? His silence was louder than any answer. Over the next few days, the tension got worse. Joyce began claiming the master bathroom for herself, saying the guest one had terrible lighting. She started throwing out my skincare products and replacing them with her own, saying they were better suited for women my age. She started accidentally, including herself in date plans. Movie night became family night. Dinner reservations mysteriously became a table for 3. I began to feel like a stranger in my marriage. And worse, a prisoner in my home. Then something strange happened. I started finding things in odd places. My wedding ring, which I always placed on the bedside table, once ended up in the laundry basket. My phone, which I left charging in the kitchen, once appeared on the bathroom sink. One morning, I found my journal face down on the floor, pages crumpled. I knew, without a doubt, Joyce had been reading it. I confronted her. Have you been in my room? I asked calmly, catching her folding towels in the hallway. She didn't flinch. I was just cleaning up. I noticed your journal fell. I never leave it on the floor. She gave me a patronizing smile. Maybe you forgot. No, I said, stepping closer. I didn't. Her eyes narrowed. If you don't want people finding things, maybe keep them somewhere more private. That was it. No more games. No more pretending. This woman was trying to unseat me from my own life, and now she was pushing boundaries that couldn't be ignored. I called a therapist. I needed help, not just to process what was happening, but to figure out how to fight back strategically. The therapist, Dr. Mia Sanders, listened carefully to my story and then said something that stunned me. This isn't just overstepping. This sounds like narcissistic intrusion. She's asserting dominance in a space where she feels entitled, and your husband may be enabling it out of guilt or learned helplessness. Narcissistic intrusion. I repeated the phrase over and over that night. It was exactly what I needed to hear. One night, I overheard her on the phone, whispering in her room. She'll leave eventually. I just need a little more time. My stomach dropped. Was she talking about me? I pressed my ear closer. She doesn't belong here. Not really. Ryan knows it, even if he won't admit it yet. I backed away like I'd touched fire. That was the moment everything clicked. The controlling behavior, the slow erasure of my identity, the subtle manipulation of Ryan. Joyce wasn't just an annoying mother-in-law. She was playing the long game. She was trying to take over completely. But if she was going to play a long game, she didn't know who she was messing with. I was done playing nice. I started researching legal tenancy rights, recorded everything, installed a lock on my office door, changed my phone password. Then I called my cousin Ash, who worked in interior staging and home renovation. Ash, I said, I want to redesign the house. Girl, what for? For my sanity. She was here by the weekend with mood boards and plans. Joyce looked appalled. This wasn't in the budget, she said. It's my budget, I replied. Ryan won't like this. I smiled. Ryan already signed off. A lie, but a beautiful one. Joyce was furious, and her passive aggression turned to cold silence. But I didn't care. I finally felt like I was reclaiming something. Then the most chilling moment of all. I came home one night, and Joyce had cooked dinner. She set the table. 3 plates. Candles lit. Everything looked perfect. And then she handed me an envelope. It was a real estate listing, a condo not far from ours. I thought maybe you'd like a space of your own, she said sweetly. Wouldn't that be nice? She was trying to evict me from my own house. I stared at the real estate brochure in my hands. My heart pounded so hard, I could feel it in my throat. My skin tingled like it knew this moment would define everything from here on out. You want me to move out? I asked slowly, blinking as though that might reset reality. Joyce looked calm.
composed.
like she'd been rehearsing this moment. "Oh, not move out, dear," she said with a honeyed voice. "Just consider a change. Sometimes space is good for a marriage." What she meant was elimination. Erasure. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a polite assassination of my place in this home and my role as Ryan's wife.
And Ryan?
He wasn't even home to witness it. I held up the brochure. "Let me get this straight. You're in my house. You moved in without warning. You've rearranged my furniture, my marriage, my entire life, and now you want me to move into a little condo like I'm some unwanted guest." Her expression didn't budge. "I just think we'd all be happier with a little more breathing room." I leaned in, keeping my voice low and sharp. "This is my house. I built this life. Not you." She scoffed softly and tilted her head. "Are you sure about that, Emily?" That question stuck with me. I started retracing everything, obsessing over the signs. Was Joyce doing more than just manipulating emotionally? One morning, I noticed a missing bank statement. I tore apart the kitchen drawer, the file box, my desk, nothing. Then I remembered. Joyce had once said she was tidying my workspace. I dismissed it at the time, but now I wasn't so sure. I confronted Ryan when he got home that night. "Has your mother ever asked you about our finances?" He looked up from his phone, confused.
No.
"Why?" "Because I think she's been going through our private stuff." He shrugged. "She probably thought she was helping. You know how she is." "Yes," I said. "Manipulative. Calculated." His jaw clenched. "She's still my mom, Emily." That was the moment I realized something even darker. Joyce wasn't just trying to replace me. She'd been working Ryan from the inside too, dripping poison into his ear like a faucet you don't notice until the flood has already started. And maybe he wasn't just oblivious. Maybe he was complicit. I did something I never thought I'd do. I snooped. While Joyce was out getting her nails done, I went into her guest room. Not to violate privacy, but to protect mine. There, tucked beneath a pile of scarves in her suitcase, was a leather-bound planner. It was filled with notes, appointments, grocery lists, and conversations. My breath caught in my throat as I saw entries that said things like, "Remind Ryan about condo idea. Emphasis on peace of mind. Ask Ryan if Emily seems distant. Plant seed about separation. Call attorney Linda. Ask if gifting house requires Emily's approval." My blood ran cold. She wasn't just a meddling mother-in-law. She was orchestrating a quiet, strategic coup. My hands trembled as I snapped photos of every page. That night, I sat in the garage, door shut, engine off, staring at the evidence on my phone. What do I do with this? If I showed Ryan, would he even believe me? Or worse, had he already agreed to some of it? I had to be careful.
Precise.
So I met with Dr. Sanders again. I showed her the notes. She took one long look and nodded. This is textbook manipulation. Covert control. She's likely a narcissist with deeply rooted maternal possessiveness. She's trying to steal my marriage, I whispered. Dr. Sanders gave me the words I needed. She already thinks she has. I took a few days to observe. Watched Joyce more carefully. Listened to her phrasing, her tone with Ryan. "Don't you miss the quiet from before you were married? Emily seems so tired lately. You deserve someone more energized. She's changed, hasn't she? It's not like the beginning." Each statement, innocent on its own, but strung together, they were designed to undermine me without looking like sabotage.
And Ryan?
He didn't push back. Not once. I started to wonder if he still saw me as his wife, or as someone he was being convinced to outgrow. One night, I watched as Ryan stood in the living room, phone in hand, smiling at a message. "Who's that?" I asked. He turned the screen away too quickly. "No one." "Was it your mom?" He hesitated.
"Yeah. Just sending me a photo of our old dog."
Nothing serious. But I'd seen the screen for half a second. It wasn't Joyce. It was a number I didn't recognize. I asked to see it. He refused. And just like that, my stomach sank. This wasn't just a war between me and Joyce anymore. There was a third battlefield forming. one I hadn't prepared for. I dug deeper. One afternoon, I waited until Joyce left to grab a few things from the store. I checked the spare bedroom again, and this time found a hidden flash drive taped to the bottom of her drawer. I plugged it into my laptop. Inside were audio recordings. Dozens. Most were of conversations between Joyce and Ryan, and one in particular shook me. Recording, dated 2 weeks prior. Joyce. She's going to fight back eventually. But don't worry, just stay calm. Let her exhaust herself. Ryan. I don't want to hurt her. Joyce. You're not. You're liberating yourself. You deserve peace, Ryan. You deserve someone who fits your life. Ryan. Do you think I rushed into marriage? Joyce. I think you married out of guilt. I stopped the recording. My ears were ringing. He didn't deny it. He didn't say, I love her. He didn't defend me at all. And Joyce was pushing the narrative that our entire relationship was a mistake. I felt like I was drowning. But even then, some part of me refused to break. Because if this was war, then I had every right to defend my kingdom. I wasn't going to let a woman in pearls and pastels destroy the home I built with blood, tears, and compromise. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to strike. I made a plan. I transferred all the recordings to a backup drive, printed out the planner pages, gathered every bank record and legal document that had my name on it. I reached out to a real estate attorney, and I began the process of reinforcing the deed to our home with only my name on the mortgage. Because Joyce didn't know one crucial detail. When we bought the house, Ryan had signed over his ownership as a wedding gift. The property was mine alone. Joyce was plotting her takeover in a kingdom she didn't even own. The morning I decided to act, the air in the house felt heavier than usual. It was one of those cloudy, static-filled mornings where everything you touch feels electric, and the silence seems to wait for something to explode. Joyce was sitting in the kitchen sipping her tea, like she hadn't just tried to dismantle my entire life. Ryan was in the shower, humming to himself, completely unaware that the walls were closing in. And me? I was dressed like I was headed to battle. Because I was. I slid the flash drive into my pocket, tucked the folder of printed evidence under my arm, and calmly took a seat at the kitchen table across from Joyce. Her lips curled into that smile I'd come to hate. Morning, dear. Sleep well? I smiled back. No. But I did think well. Oh. I laid the folder down gently in front of her. Her smile faltered. What's this? Your eviction notice, I said softly. And all the documentation proving you've been actively conspiring to break up my marriage, commit financial manipulation, and psychologically sabotage me in my own home. The cup in her hand paused midair. She blinked. Then she laughed. You're being dramatic. I leaned in. I'm being merciful. She opened the folder and glanced over the contents. Her eyes flicked to the flash drive in my hand. I have backups, I added quickly. Stored on the cloud, email, and safe deposit box. So don't bother playing games. She sat back in her chair, face stony now. You think this is going to make him choose you over his mother? No, I said. I don't want to win some twisted contest. I just want my life back, without the parasite living in my guest room. She stood up abruptly. This house belongs to my son. I smiled wider. No, Joyce. It belongs to me. Just then, Ryan walked into the kitchen, drying his hair with a towel. He looked between us, feeling the tension immediately. What's going on? Joyce opened her mouth, but I got there first. I showed her the truth. The planner. The recordings. The emails. The gifting schemes. Everything. Ryan froze. What? I tossed the flash drive onto the table. You want to know what your mother's been doing behind your back? Go ahead. Hit play. You'll hear her telling you that I was a mistake. That our marriage was guilt-based. That you should liberate yourself from me. Joyce spun around. She's manipulating you, Ryan. But he didn't speak. He just looked at me. For the first time in weeks, really looked at me. And I saw it. The crack in his armor. The doubt. You said those things, he asked quietly. Joyce scoffed. You were thinking them. I just said them out loud. He shook his head, like trying to wake himself from a fog. I trusted you. She stepped forward. And you can still trust me, honey. I did it for you. For your happiness. I interrupted her.
No, Joyce.
You did it for control. Because no one ever taught you that love means letting go. Ryan sat down heavily, rubbing his temples. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I told him gently. But you do have to choose. Joyce gasped. What? I nodded. Because she's not staying here another day. Joyce tried everything in the next hour. Gaslighting.
Crying. Shouting.
Even going limp on the floor and claiming chest pain. I offered to call 911. She got up fast. Eventually, I called her bluff entirely by pulling out a prepaid hotel reservation I'd made for her, 3 nights at a modest place across town. Take the time to think, I said. But this house is no longer available to you. You'll regret this, she hissed. No, I said, holding the door open. I regret letting it get this far. She left. Not quietly, of course. She stormed out with bags thudding against the floor, muttering curses and promises under her breath. I stood in the doorway as she backed out of the driveway and sped off into the street, her tires screeching like some kind of horror movie villain escaping into the night. But I didn't feel afraid anymore. I felt free. Ryan was still sitting at the table, staring at the flash drive. I need to know, he whispered. Did you ever think about leaving? I nodded. More than once. He winced. Why didn't you? I sat beside him. Because I believed we were worth saving. But I wasn't going to let myself be destroyed in the process. He looked ashamed. I let her get too close. She walked in because you left the door open, Ryan. We sat in silence for a long while. Then he reached for my hand. I want to fix this. I want you to fix yourself first, I replied gently. Because you can't be a husband if you're still someone's son before everything else. That night, I slept alone in our bed for the first time in years. Not because I was angry, but because I needed to feel peace.
Joyce was gone.
Ryan had choices to make. And me? I had power again. The next morning, I walked through the house and admired the silence. No passive-aggressive humming from the guest room. No reorganized fridge. No fake praise about my cooking followed by salt being added behind my back. Just stillness. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Later that week, I received a voicemail from Joyce. You think this is over, Emily? It's not. You humiliated me. I will not be erased. I deleted the message. Then blocked the number. Sometimes, the final confrontation doesn't come with a punch or a slap. Sometimes it's just the sound of a door clicking shut behind a person who no longer belongs in your life. A week had passed since Joyce left my house. It was surreal. The absence of her presence, so loud, so manipulative, so everywhere, left a void. But instead of feeling empty, the house began to breathe again. I could feel its walls exhaling, the air lightening. It was like the home was healing just as I was. But healing didn't mean forgetting. And it certainly didn't mean forgiving.
Not yet.
Ryan had taken time off from work. He was, to put it lightly, shaken. His eyes had this quiet guilt behind them every time they landed on me. He was ashamed of how much he'd let slide, how blind he had been to his mother's manipulation. I didn't rub it in. Not because he didn't deserve a wake-up call, but because I was exhausted. I was done playing therapist, punching bag, or emotional caretaker. It was time I took care of myself. One morning, while I was out tending the front yard, a chore I had once abandoned due to the chaos inside, Ryan walked out holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to me. You're up early, I said without looking at him. I couldn't sleep. A pause. Then he added, I've scheduled therapy. Individual and couple sessions. That caught my attention. Good, I said softly. But make sure you're doing it for you, not for me. He nodded. I am. I need to know why I let her become the voice in my head instead of the one standing next to me. We sat on the porch steps together, sipping quietly. No words were necessary after that. The neighborhood had started noticing her absence. Nosy neighbors made subtle comments. Oh, Haven't seen your mother-in-law around lately. I just smiled and replied, she's taking an extended vacation. Somehow, that statement always ended the conversation. But not the curiosity. Which I didn't mind. Let them guess. Let them wonder. The hotel reservation I gave Joyce had only been for 3 nights, but she didn't come back to the house after that. Instead, I got an envelope in the mail. Inside was a letter written in her delicate cursive handwriting. And something else, an old photograph. Ryan as a boy, sitting on her lap, both of them smiling. I sat down before I even read the letter. Emily, you've made your position clear. And I now see that I underestimated you. I thought you were just another fragile woman clinging to the illusion of family. But you're not. You're something much more dangerous. You're a woman who knows her worth. I won't apologize for what I did. I did what I believed was necessary to protect my son from a life of quiet disappointment. I thought I was helping. I see now I was intruding. If Ryan ever finds his way back to me, I'll be here. But I won't step foot in your home again unless I'm asked. And even then, I doubt you'd want that. Tell my son I love him. And tell yourself, well done.
Joyce.
I stared at the letter for a long time. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even acknowledgement of the pain she caused. But it was an end. And that was enough for now. In the weeks that followed, I transformed the guest room. Gone was the floral bedding she loved. Gone were the curtains she brought with her, the bookshelf of her cookbooks, the ugly beige lamp. I painted the walls ocean blue. Bought myself a white writing desk. Hung up peaceful artwork. It became my room, an art space, a journal space, a room of my own. Because when you've fought so hard for your space, claiming it feels like rebellion and salvation. Ryan stayed, but on my terms. He slept in the guest room now, not as punishment, but as part of his own process. We talked. We didn't rush healing. Some nights, we shared laughter again. Other nights, we just stared into the dark, unsure of what came next. But through it all, we were honest. Finally. Then one night, something strange happened. I was sitting in the art room, my sanctuary, flipping through one of my old journals. I stumbled upon an entry from 2 years ago. I'm afraid she's going to move in permanently. Ryan keeps defending her. I feel like I'm disappearing in my own home. Sometimes, I dream of just packing a bag and leaving without saying a word. I ran my fingers over the ink. That woman, me, was on the verge of breaking. And here I was now. Whole. Strong. Still standing. I decided to burn that page. I lit a match, dropped it in the fireplace, and watched the old version of me vanish in flames. Letting go.
For real this time.
Just when I thought things had settled, something unexpected happened. It was a Friday afternoon. I was organizing my emails when I found one marked urgent in my spam folder. The sender?
Joyce.
Subject line. You need to see this. My stomach dropped. Against better judgment, I clicked. Attached was a single photo. It showed a young woman, barely 20, standing beside a man who looked eerily like Ryan. But it wasn't me. And it wasn't Joyce. Beneath it, just one line. You deserve the full truth. Start asking the right questions. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. What truth? Who was the girl? Was this one last manipulation, or something real? Ryan walked in moments later, smiling softly. You okay? I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time since this all began, I wasn't sure. I handed him the laptop. He stared at the screen, face pale. Emily, he whispered. Who is she? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Just sat down and buried his face in his hands. So, maybe the story wasn't over. Maybe the final twist had only just begun. But this time I was ready. Because when you fought your way back from the edge, you learn how to stand alone, no matter what secrets come next. Final line. I thought I kicked her out in style, but maybe, just maybe, she left something behind.